Greetings, everybody, man. Welcome to the first shooting of this One House build, man. We're trying to be some very large voices of the people, man, standing on the shoulders of the ancestors. We want to bring the spirit of the ancestors in here before we do anything. Let the people know that this One House thing is a state of mind. It's a movement. Not so much as an organization, but we're trying to pull in all our people, man, for the betterment of the race. With no malice of any type of theology or religion or whatever you choose. This is for the betterment of the melanated people. Today we're going to build on a few topics. One of the topics is going to be Nigrescence. I guess before we get into the build, that the good brother Martez is going to drop to you. We'll give a little bit about who we are, man. So my name is Divine Mind. I'm just another brother like y'all, man, that's out just trying to unite the people, man. No bigger than anyone. I want for my happiness like I want for y'all happiness, man. We coming straight up out of Birmingham, doing this for Birmingham. 79% black, man. We're the most populated black cities in the world. So I feel like it's a must that we do it. The only time is now. There's no more time for waiting. Without further ado, we're going to get into the build. Let our two brothers introduce yourselves, man.
Alright, I'm Martez, young local black brother trying to make it, and trying to work with the brothers and build collectivism and create a sense of community for our people. Yeah.
Hey, this is Kellen, man. Caporal, like I said, young brother from Birmingham, trying to help build and bring light, shed unity into the neighborhood and community.
So I personally feel, man, that the only way we can make a movement is if we work on just, for lack of a better word, creating a revolutionary culture. And what I mean by revolutionary culture, not a militant culture, but almost a evolution of the way that we think, the way that we deal with each other. Like, personally, when I see any brother, I greet him as a king. But we need to bring information, but also inspiration to our people. You see what I mean? So my main focus is bring knowledge, but also bring love. So I feel like what we want to do is we want to spread love to our people, because everybody feel love, from the dope dealer to the prostitute, to whoever, no matter what you are, no matter what your level is. If you deal with a person on the basis of love, they're going to respect you for it. So that's what we about, spreading love, man. But without any further ado, I know you said you had a hot topic that we was building on, man.
So basically, what I wanted to drop for us was like, how do we become black conscious? So how do we create this black identity that we have? And so pretty much there's a psychologist named William Cross. In 1971, he analyzed like black culture. He looked at it through a sociological and a psychological lens, and he created his theory called Nigrescence. And so I've been talking to the brothers about like what Nigrescence was. And so the brothers was intrigued, and they felt like I needed to explain Nigrescence to the larger audience. And so I'm going to pretty much try to do an amateur breakdown of what Nigrescence is. And so William Cross defines Nigrescence as the process of becoming black, i.e. black conscious, i.e. building a black personality. And so he identifies this becoming black consciousness through 5 modes. And he says that his theory has 5 modes that you have to go through, and the first is the pre-encounter stage. And William Cross says in the pre-encounter stage, you got this low emphasis on race. You don't even care about race. You don't think about what's black, what's white. You don't think about any separations or divisions because you don't see them. They're not there. In your pre-encounter stage, you actually have this emphasis on what's white because you associate European culture with being the better culture. And so he says that you would go to a restaurant and you'll be eating at a Greek restaurant or a Roman restaurant, and that would be the best food you've ever had. And when you go to an African restaurant, that African food will be disgusting to you because you don't have this perception of what blackness is. And so he says after pre-encounter stage, it's the encounter stage. And in the encounter stage, you have this earth-shattering experience of racism. He calls it raw, naked racism, in which you know that you can't be fully American, because if I was fully American, this wouldn't be happening to me. I can't be like the people around me, because if I was, this wouldn't be happening to me. And he says in the encounter stage, this life-altering experience of racism will shake you, and you will know that you're something different. After the encounter stage, he has this stage that he calls immersion. And he says in the immersion stage, you start filling yourself with this sea of black knowledge. And so you delving into the black culture, you understanding things, you want to know more about what's black and what's black culture and what's black art and what's black music, what's black literature. You delve into it, right? Once you delve into it, you pretty much become what he calls this out of control blackness. So it's like this all over the place blackness. You really don't know where to focus it. You know, it's some of this, maybe I'm Hebrew Israelite, maybe I'm Kemetic, maybe I'm this, maybe I'm that, maybe I'm that, because you're absorbing so much stuff, but you haven't learned to focus it for your life. You haven't learned to focus it really to what it is for you. The next stage he got is called the internalization stage. In the internalization stage, you begin to focus this knowledge that you get, right? So now that I got all this knowledge and I've learned about black culture, I need to focus it. So how am I going to use it to do something? In the internalization stage, you start focusing this knowledge and framing it to, well, now I have an African worldview. Now I see things through an Afrocentric lens. Instead of me seeing things Eurocentrically, now I see things Africologically. And so after you've gained this Afrocentric worldview, you step into what he calls the internalization commitment stage. And the internalization commitment stage is pretty much the most important stage. Because in the internalization commitment stage, you no longer have to shout out to the word that you black. People will look at you and know that you have a respect and love for black culture. People will see it on you. And so no longer do you have to wear dashikis. No longer do you have to profess that your love for blackness, because it's evident. Because in this stage, you have to do something to move the culture forward. In this stage, you got to create a program. You got to have some social activism. You got to do something that the people can see and connect with. It has to be concrete things now. No more abstract theories about what's black. And so the internalization commitment stage in Cross's model becomes what becomes the most essential thing in the model. So yeah, that's pretty much Nigrescence in an essence.
Wow.
Man, this, every time I hear it, man, it makes me see my life go through them stages, man.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm in that last step. And this is what One House is. It's us immersing ourselves past that sea and becoming fully active, man. We out trying to get people activated, but if we really want to be an outlet for the people, we don't really come in with a list of demands.
Right.
We want to come help be a voice, help build projects, help build economics. Because I feel like it's not all about money, but it's the economic or the lack of economic that really have us chasing a lot of these things. Yeah. Like I heard somebody say earlier, if the only choices we got to succeed is to destroy our community, then what options do you got to succeed? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's a double negative. So succeeding, from what we see it on the most part of the image of the giving is degrading the self, killing self, to secure self.
Right.
So you killing the African image.
Absolutely.
Just to secure your life.
Social climb and self-actualization becomes like this white model, and you ascribe it to white culture. And I don't feel like it have to be that. Like, I don't feel like you have to like say, I'm gonna leave my people alone, or I'm not gonna mess with this group no more in order to like reach success. What do you define? Who's defining success for you?
Exactly.
Because I know, like, you know, for those of you who know me on camera, or for those of you who know me in the real world, I just graduated from UAB. And so I became like this black male to deliver the commencement address at UAB, the first black one ever. And so like now people tell me like what I should be doing, and I shouldn't be messing up my image. I shouldn't be this and that, and I shouldn't be saying black things. But I'm saying, like, if I love me. When I gave my speech to 6,000 people, I wrote a speech about a 4-year-old black boy. I used 2 black people who I respected to quote in the speech, and everybody in the room thought I was talking to them. You see what I'm saying? And so blackness for me is human. And for I don't understand like how we've let people turn blackness into this negative thing. Well, blackness now has become this degenerated sense of nothingness. This is not the problem.
It's a
fear of blackness that's the problem. You know what I mean?
I think it's a lot of that controlled by the media, man. Media influence on what they paint it to be, on how they paint a black experience to be, and then we validate it. You know how they say art is supposed to imitate life. But we done got to the point where we imitating the art.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
Now we gotta look at who's dictating that.
And then it's like who's teaching the kids, and I don't want to get so extreme, but it's a system that's attacked from the media? Is that your image? From the school system, is that the image? Is that the black youth? And some can say that, you know, that it's a conspiracy theory, but when you got numbers, let's make it realistic. Here in Birmingham, I was noticing the graduating class for black boys. I heard the graduation rate was somewhere in the 60%. You go to Hoover, it's not too far in location, maybe about 20-30 minutes. But the graduation rate for the males there, mostly white males, is in the high 80s to the 90s. You mean to tell me that them white guys are just generally more educated than black people? It has to be something that's ingrained in them systems.
So
that keeps it like that.
And what's so funny though is that we see that as a huge disparity. Like that's a big gap for me, because like 60 to 80 is a huge gap for me. But if you hear, like if you was to say that to a group of people, like I told people, like I go to a PWI, I go to UAB, that's a predominantly white institution, and they told me, well, UAB has a 68% white population, but look how many of you guys it is. You got, it's 20% black. There's no other PWI with that huge percent of black population in the school. That's a huge percent. And it's the same way they look at the numbers. Because like if you was to say black males are graduating at a 60% rate and white males are graduating at an 80% rate, then people will say, well, that's not a huge disparity there. That's no issue. Like that means they almost graduated at the same. Like, but that's a big gap. Huge gap for me. Like when you and see, that's how when you start seeing things from like an Africological or Afrocentric lens, like you start noticing stuff. Like you see the disparity. Like,
but speaking of that and the institutionalized racism, wasn't you trying to drop in the system and how even the zoning of it? Because I personally seen it myself. And this is last year.
Right.
I went to a Hoover and Mountain Brook game.
Right.
Now at this game, I'm sitting at the Hoover home side, and I'm noticing that Mountain Brook, I did a little research, Mountain Brook is one of the top richest in the nation. Top 10, not just in Alabama, but in the nation. So I looked at the sporting event, and I noticed that there was no black person on the field. There was no black players, there were no black coaches, and not only that, as I looked into the stands, yes, it's an away game, so of course everybody not there, so I'm pretty sure they might have a few black students, but the point I'm saying, there were no black students on the field, no black people on the coaching, and no black people in the stands, and this is the richest place in our state. So I'm like, why isn't it that there's a balance between white and black there? So you mean to tell me that we don't make the money like that? And why isn't it like that? And I heard it's been like this for generations, not just now.
Yeah, so pretty much what happened was in Birmingham, and I can only speak for, and I'm sure it happened in other places, but I can only speak for Birmingham because I'm a Birmingham historian. Pretty much what happened was there was this zoning and planning, right? And so we had to see where we were going to place these neighborhoods in Birmingham. You know, Birmingham was founded in 1871. And so like Birmingham is relatively like new. It's a newer place. You know, so they were able to develop it around industry. And so they started building these company towns like Fairfield, where U.S. Steel was, or company towns like Pratt City, where the Pratt City mines were, right? Yeah. And so back then, they'll tell you, well, you know, these places were put here strategically for the company town. But what happens after white flight happens is, this is where the black neighborhoods are, and these businesses are surrounding the black neighborhoods, right? Congestion, overpopulation, overcrowdedness, pollution, right? Yeah. If you go to a place like a Hoover or Mountain Brook, the places where you shop are not about where those people's houses are, right? You have to like go like the places where you shop, you have to get away from where you shop to get into those people's houses. Right, because those people don't want their houses around that type of car pollution, that type of congestion, that type of pollution. But these neighborhoods, these small neighborhoods where this concentration of black people are, it's surrounded by places where it's food restaurants. You get off the freeway, you are in somebody's neighborhood, right? It's food places that surrounds these people's stuff where cars and traffic and pollution can surround. This stuff was like set up like this. It was zoned that way, right? And so why can't these people get into the neighborhood? There's a couple of neighborhoods in Birmingham where the property value has never dropped. And so that's on the mountain. So Red Mountain, where those houses, the property value has never dropped. Southside specifically. And that Hoover Mountain Brook area that you're talking about. Those and so how do we keep those price values from dropping? We keep poor and minority people out of those areas. How do we do it? People think they're doing it because of an economic disparity, but it's actually like this homeowners association, and they say it's outlawed and illegal now, but I really feel like a lot of that stuff still goes on. They say they outlawed those prices like 79, 80-ish, right? Where the homeowner association can't buy the house and then sell it to who they want to sell it to. They say they outlawed it, but I feel like
it still goes on. It's
right,
a loophole for everything.
Right. You see what I'm saying? But so you got these areas, right? How we keeping those people out of there? People say it's economic, but it's righteous. Homeowner association, there are rules and regulations for like, if you want to move in this area, you probably have to know somebody who live in it, who's been in the area for at least 10 to 12 years. If everybody in the area is white, I don't know nobody in that area who's been there for, because my family is black. You see what I'm saying?
Who would stay there for 10 years?
Yeah, who the hell?
I can't even drive down the street without getting pulled over. I heard plenty of cases folks say they've been there to do work. They might have been landscapers in them communities.
Right.
They get pulled over if they're not in the company car, because they tell them that your car ain't like it's supposed to be here.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, so in other words, they saying you ain't supposed to be here.
Exactly.
You ain't got no money. You're broke. You stand up like a sore thumb. We don't want you here. Go back inside the town where you're supposed to be. Because you're gonna be here for 2 reasons.
To work.
Or steal.
Exactly.
Right.
Real talk. But I know you said you had seen something.
Yeah. I used to live out in Hoover. You know what I mean? I won't name the apartment complex, but you know, they had a zip code 35216 or whatever. And the way you get to my apartment complex is in a neighborhood, real nice community or whatever. You pull up the hill. There's a townhouse sitting to the right. To the left is another townhouse / apartment complex. And then on down the hill, nice little Section 8 apartments. Very nice, very eloquent looking. You wouldn't think they were Section 8 by their appearance or whatever. Now this is Hoover, right? These two townhouses section, they're sectioned to where the children can go to Hoover schools. You know, Hoover, Spain Park or whatever. Okay, now you get down to the Section 8 part of the complex or whatever. Still in Hoover geographically. But the way that area has been zoned out, it's been cut out of Hoover and it's zoned for Birmingham.
Yeah, man, my political science teacher, she was talking about that. So like, kind of like gerrymandering. Like,
yeah, that's exactly what it is.
So like gerrymandering, like, well, because that huge concentration of black people might be minorities, that Section 8 population there, I gotta get that out because I don't want the funds for Hoover to help that level.
Exactly.
So I gotta like kind of even the way it's been zoned and cut out. And I wish I had my book, my book to show y'all how zone 6 and 7, what is it called? District 6, District 7, and the way those boundary lines are drawn on the map. It looks strange, especially for that Birmingham section. Like, it looks wild. It's like some of it over here in Hoover, some of it over here where Homewood at, some of it over here. Like,
it makes no sense.
Right. Exactly. But it's just to keep that popular. You don't want to. Why they cut out busing over there? Like, why we don't want busing over there? Because it's gonna bring in too many folks who ain't supposed to be here.
Exactly. Exactly. It's crazy.
People without cars.
Exactly.
So that means you ain't got no
Birmingham, although it was geographically located in
Those children couldn't go to Hoover school.
No, they was on for iron there.
Right.
You know what I mean? On the 80% graduation track. Now they're on that 68% graduation track.
Exactly. So we got to do something to keep these children and these parents out of our success rate and into their success rate, which is a much lower standard. You know what I mean? So, I mean, if we could just discuss on that topic. You know what I mean?
Well, I really want to see, speaking of education, and we ain't got to delve into it too deep, we talk a lot about, I guess, the ills. We're going to talk about some solutions as this thing progresses.
Yeah.
But as this thing go with education, what we ultimately want to see in Birmingham is our own institutions. Institutions where we're not just bringing historical information and feel good, but where we making these students compete, being competitive on all levels. Talking about SAT scores, GPAs, so they can go and compete and get in any school in the nation. So we're not like giving them feel good rhetoric, but we want to make them have stuff hypertext data, knowing how to work computers, knowing the language of the internet, the language of making these pages. We're talking about skill-based institutions, also bringing information. So we also want to do stuff like finance classes, stocks and bonds, really teaching financial literacy that they're not going to get in the regular school. So we want to make this school that we're talking about almost like a private school standard, but to the people that want to get involved. So what's what we want to do right now? We are in communities. We are distributing information. We got karate classes for the youth and adults. We do this every Wednesday. Starting February the 14th, we'll be in Brookview Farm every Saturday from 12 to 2, teaching people how to grow food. Everything we want to do, we want to be skill-based, give back so we can teach something.
It's part of the education.
So
to
dealing
be
with
self-sustaining.
Yeah.
You're trying to create a self-sustaining,
you know,
human being, and I get, man, I love it, man. That's why, like, I'm so in support of what you're doing. And that's what I want the world to know. Like, when you see somebody who is trying to put forth some, like, we talk a lot of times about like ideology, and so a lot of times we become divisive versus on the basis of ideology. And so I could look at Zone and say, you know, Zone don't believe what I believe, or he ain't fighting for what I'm fighting for, and blah blah blah. And then so I can't work with him. But if I look at what Zone doing, and when he come to me and say, I want to help the kids learn how to grow their own food. I want to teach them self-defense classes. I want to teach them financial literacy. At what point, what part of that do you disagree with? Like, and that's how we come together. Like, that's why our differences don't matter.
Exactly.
And what part of the plan do you disagree with? Like, you might not agree with my thinking or my ideology, but a part of what part of the goal do you disagree with?
it's a fact. That's why I feel like any history or ideology is debatable.
Right.
It's all perception. But the ills are in our community, and
That's
what
not
must be
debate.
done
That's
ain't
not
no
debate.
debate.
Yeah.
So let's meet there, because ain't nobody gonna tell me that we don't need education.
Right.
Ain't nobody gonna tell me that we don't need economics.
Right.
Ain't nobody gonna tell me that we don't need to defend ourselves. So we all can agree on that. What are we doing as men, so-called conscious men,
To facilitate.
in the same thing? And that's why that's in with no disrespect to any organization, but this is what it says in the mission statement, that we here to facilitate and also facilitate by bringing any type of thing that's gonna raise the thing, talking about dietary education in the black community. So we come to be straight facilitators. We ain't come to just be rhetoric spitters. If we don't have an initiative we can get y'all people into, we failing y'all. And we want y'all to chime in with us and let you know what you want. Because not only we don't have an agenda that we see. What do we want? Because we want to bring that village vibe back to Birmingham. What does Birmingham want?
Exactly.
So we know what we want to see, but we real interested in what the people want to see. We need the message of the people, so we need everybody to chime in. This is your movement. This is for you. If everybody wanted to see and wanted to do something, this the call out. I ain't calling you out, but I'm calling you out. You say ain't nothing going on in your city, maybe you ain't reached out to it.
Right.
And put in your input. Ain't no big chiefs and little Indians. We all chiefs. We all generals here. It's one house, and like I said, it's really about us coming together under one roof. Forget a name. The only reason why we got a name is because some gotta have a name to make it real, so you can identify with it. But we're really just about unity, man, and love, man. And that's what we're gonna facilitate. Hopefully we can come back, bring information to y'all every week that's gonna uplift. We got a lot of stuff coming on. We got documentaries building. We got more skill-based projects going on. And I just want y'all to be a part of it, man. So just look us up in Birmingham, man. You can check us out on Facebook under the One House Movement. Also, we got a group. The One House Movement is a fan page. This is the best way to track what's really going on with One House. We also have a discussion page, which is the One House Group. The One House Group is an open discussion. You never know what the topic will be, but it's always constructive building on what we feel like will either bring pride through history or initiatives. But if you want to follow on what's going on with the movement, the best way to follow is the One House Movement page, because that'll have directly the view of what's going on.
And if you want to debate us, you can. Like, you can debate. You can constructively and intelligently debate us. However, after the debate is over with, let's go save the people.
Exactly.
Let's go
Come
fix
get
something.
this
After we get through arguing over ideological differences, after you get through telling me you a Christian or Muslim or Kemetic or whatever, can we go help these kids and save the world after that? Like,
Cause I feel like, yeah, that's real. I feel like we gotta build a bridge. I ain't saying let's debate, but if a debate must happen so us to build a bridge, let's conversate, because I feel like there's a lot of conversations that we don't have amongst each other that's necessary. And I feel like the only way to find out what is best for our people is to kind of mesh it out and the day just work together for what we see. So we might say that this ideology is better, But instead of just grinding that out for 5 hours and then don't get no work done,
let's
get the work done.
Right.
For a perfect example, man, we was out in the community and we want to say name, there was a miniature ideological debate. But while this conversation is going on, I don't want to call it a debate because to me it's all conversation and for growth. I don't never really come into the build to belittle nobody. It's all like I said, I want for my happiness like I want for you. If I feel like this information was really better himself, I'd be a hypocrite not to want to give it to you and not be serious in my stance to give it to you. But I always say that I don't have a monopoly on what's right. So we can agree to disagree. You see what I'm saying? But if it ain't helping the people, if you talking about the blackness don't matter, and you talking about that, that's a rhetoric I really can't follow.
Right. The blackness matter. Like you telling me you don't see color. Listen, I'm all for whatever you are. I'm all for humanity too. But you telling me you don't see color, that means you have a problem with color. You see what I'm saying? You have a problem with me. Exactly. Because to not see color means you only see whiteness, and you have a problem with me. Exactly. And so I don't mind you being humanistic or spreading your all lives matter humanistic views. However, don't diminish and belittle me. Don't take my pride away. Don't take my skin off of me in order for you to live your life. You see what I'm saying? And I say that in all love. In all love.
So this is a humanitarian movement, man, with a focus on the black community. That's all it is. We're humanitarian. We're just focusing on what need to be focused on because if I go in the house, right, and everybody in the house is fed but one person, and I got food to give, should I really pass the food out evenly? Or should I give all my resources to that person who's not eating?
You know what I mean?
And it's evident, if you want to be a humanitarian in this day and time, in America, even if you were not black, you should be trying to focus on this community. Because since the first slave ship has dropped in America, there has been a mental war, a physical war, a spiritual war, a social war that's still taking on.
And I think people think, like when they think slavery, they think chains, bondage, and whips. But you forget about this psychological part that got you still messed up today. Like our people are suffering from post-traumatic slave syndrome. Our people have not escaped the mental bondage. Our people are still being divisive on the issues of light skin, dark skin. We still separate ourselves on ageism and colorism and small differences among us when other stuff that other people don't see. We only see, only we can see it. And we tearing each other down and we don't even know about the psychological damage that has been done. I'm seeking some psychological counseling for my people. I need you guys to have some mental health help.
Exactly. And that's the biggest concern in the black community, mental health. Where are you psychologically? You know what I mean? If you're willing to let something from somebody said on the west side deter you if you're on the east side, how can you build with that?
Right.
If you're willing to let somebody who's obese not help you build because you're a little bit more slim and in shape than them, how can you build with them? There's no nation here.
I look at all the brothers, my mother don't believe what I believe theologically. My mother don't believe what I believe ideologically. But I still rock with her. I still love my mother, so I want to challenge y'all folks. How many of y'all go against y'all mothers and y'all fathers because they see differently? So how can you say that you really love your people but don't give your brother or your sister that same respect to be an individual? You see what I'm saying?
Also, like, don't get so confined by your ideology that you can't help or build with one another. It doesn't matter. Listen, I'm in a house full of Christians. I got friends who Muslims. My friends are the next level scholars, and they believe. I got atheist people who love me. You see what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, we all can come together for one common cause, and when we can't, that's what I take exception with.
Exactly.
That's what I got an issue with.
Exactly.
Because why does that, what you believe, keep you from working? What we see is concrete. Poverty is concrete. Folks suffering is concrete. Black folk dying is concrete. Like, that's some real stuff. Like, why does something that's ethereal counteract with something that's concrete?
Exactly. Something abstract.
Alright.
Exactly.
We're trying to get something concrete, man. And I feel like personally we just need 5% of Birmingham. I guarantee you we can activate 5% of Birmingham. Not only can we make a movement, but I guarantee if we can activate 5% of Birmingham, we can collectively draw in 1 million in less than a year. And I got an economic blueprint for us to do it. All we need is 5% of Birmingham to activate into this plan. We can build institutions. we can make change. They can go from theoretical change to reality. Don't you want to be a part of changing reality? This is the chance, man. Everybody say, I want to do something. I don't think it's just us, but we can collectively do something. Not me, not him, we, with your help. Add to it, man. Build with it, man. We're just trying to do something, sincerely do something.
Exactly.
Because the time is now.
Peace and love. Hotel Pache.
Peace.